Hi everybody, today we'll be reviewing Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Hunt for the Decepticons, Voyager class Autobot Highbrow. What a long name. Highbrow, the original name, was from a G1 character back in the 80s. He was at that point a headmaster helicopter, so about the only similarity between that and this Highbrow is that they have some kind of propeller. This is quite a new Highbrow. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't appear in the film at all actually, so it's just an interesting character spin-off that Hasbro have done. So, okay, let's start the review. Now, for those of you who don't know, the gimmick of my reviews is that I'm totally blind. I have no sight at all, and I won't be transforming Highbrow from instructions because I can't read any printed instructions. So I actually worked him out by touch alone, and I'd recommend, if you get a chance, you try this yourself. He's quite easy to transform. He's also a really nicely engineered toy. So, Highbrow in his robot mode, he looks great. He's not kibbly at all like some of the other, say, car transformers with great big things hanging off their back, and he's not got wings sticking out all over the place. He has, I guess, his most noticeable bit of kibble on his sides here is propellers, but you know they actually serve a function in robot mode anyway, so that's not too bad. He has a few points of articulation. He's got his legs that can lift, his knees that can bend, his legs also rotate like that, and you can put him into a fairly interesting pose like this. It doesn't. There we go. His feet actually move because of his transformation, so that's quite useful. He's got the usual shoulder articulation, ball joint shoulder, elbow articulation, rotating hand, and rotating forearm. He's got a couple of gimmicks as a robot. He has a little flip down set of goggles here, which if you just press on the back of his head, the goggles slide out of the face. It's designed to emulate some sort of aviators 1940s style pilot's goggles. He, just lift that back up, a hinge on the back of the head. He transforms into a Lightning, I think P30, P80, so he's quite World War II-ish. You can actually look that plane up on Wikipedia if you so wish, or Plane Wiki. Okay, he's got a couple of gimmicks as a robot. As I mentioned one, this is another where he can basically, if we extend the arms out, remove the Gatling guns from his fists, and he can store them on his hips. You just see here there's a hole on the side of the wing, which is going to become part of his plane later. Store the gun into the little hole on his hip there. And I'll take this one out as well, and store it on there. Okay, so both guns on his hips, quite useful. Now, his fists, a little hinge joint on his fist here, so we close these in and swing round his blades in front, open his blades out like this, and he has, if you press the buttons on the bottom of his hands, two melee weapons here. Why he'd want that, I don't know. Maybe he's making a chicken casserole, but it's useful, and that leads us nicely into his transformation. So, I'm going to raise his arms up out of the way a second, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off these guns off his hips, so he is weaponless. And I said this figure didn't have much kibble. It does have some. It has a cockpit tucked into the back of him here. There's a little jetpack. So I'm going to raise this bit of the cockpit here. I'm going to lock this side in like so. There you go. You can see one side's locked in, and it's just a case of lining the other side up and pressing it together. This toy snaps together really well, but you just have to make sure everything's in place, otherwise it doesn't work. So, great big cockpit hanging off his back. Let's spin around. He's quite a twisty turny toy. There's not just one way of doing him. So let's get the shoulders here, the shoulder pads in robot mode. We'll grab them, and you just want to lift these up so you can see like this. They are up above his head, and his head's just going to literally latch in between them, and they clamp together like that, so they are above his head, enclosing it like a helmet. And if possible, you want to turn the arms here so they're sort of like just tucked out of the way and like this. I'm going to rotate them so that the best thing to do, honestly, is just to, if they're out to the sides, just flip them up like that. You want them both pointing up in this direction. We can close these blades up for now, just to make it a bit easier. Crucially, you want these push buttons here at the back, which you press on the spindle. You want those pointing the same way as the cockpit, so rub his head. Okay, let's lift this cockpit out of the way, and we'll do his feet. His feet are quite complicated. Now, the best thing to do to start with is just to gently move the wings out of the way. These later, you'll see, will actually form part of the plane when it's fully posed. But so wings just like that, out of the way for now. Let's take one foot because they're quite tricky. There's a big plate of his sort of calf armour here. Lift that up. Just gently hinge that out of the way. And you'll see a big rectangle of plastic at the bottom of his foot, under where his heel is. Flip that down. Flip this little rectangle out here. Do the same with the other foot. So flip the armour plate back. Flip the rectangle down. Flip this here. And you can see here, turn him over, these parts, his toes, are clearly meant to be part of the aeroplane's wing. The easiest thing to do, to flip the ankles down, like that, so his toes are pointing downwards, and then basically bring the toes back up again. Okay, and once you've done that, the outer toes, they flip around, and the inner toes sort of flip around like this. So eventually you want them pointing, let's have a look at this, down, yeah, like that. And all will become hopefully clear in a moment as to why I'm doing this. Okay, that's stage one. Now, these legs at the moment are too close together. You can see the boom is not going to connect that way, so you want to grab these legs and just pull them apart like that. That really kind of freaks me out the first time I did that because the waist joint is huge. So bring those as far apart as you can, and now we're going to lock it into the top section of the propellers. So I have quite a close-up view here. As you can see, the leg and the propeller are quite far away from each other. They need to be closer, so you basically have to wiggle it. It's a little tricky. There you go. You sort of want them in that position so that the tail boom connects to the back of the propeller. And this bit of armour comes down and locks in over the top. Now, these do not always clip in first time. They are very tricky. However, no, it did not do it. This is a perfectly common problem, and to be honest, I've not found a suitable foolproof way of doing these. It seems like sometimes the harder you force these, the worse it is. All you can keep doing, unfortunately, is trying. You can hold it with your fingers like I'm doing here, and you can attempt to put the armour on. Now, what might help is if you clip it to start with and then just use your fingers to ease it on, but I can't guarantee that works. There we go. So that's that side now. This is now a solid piece. Once the armour's in place, it's completely fine. Now, what might help is if you connect these two rear sections of the tail boom together, just to give it a bit more stability. There's a little tab on the either end of each of these tail booms. Push them together like that. Spin them around again. And the same thing as before, pull this panel back and clip. On my one, this panel is an utter pain, so I will not be surprised if it doesn't work. And also this nacelle top here has a nasty habit of coming unstuck. So just be aware, this takes a little ratcheting around before it actually clips into place and does something useful. I will say, in all honesty, when you get this in place, it's a really good little toy. It all fits together very nicely. The issue is just getting it there in the first place. So, let's try this armour panel. Excuse my hands, because they're all in the way at this point. There we go. There we go. Right. He is almost done. The wings, you just want to line them up. Just use your fingers to push the seams in. Just like that. And his cockpit, you just literally pull down and click into place. It's weird, it looks like it should be facing around, but it's not. That is the way it goes. And the wings have little holes in which you want to clip the Gatling guns to, and so forth with the other wing, so that they are pointing. And there we go, he can fly around, or he's got a little landing gear here, one on each tail boom. Just slide them out with your fingers. And a main bit of landing gear which is on the bottom of the aircraft. This was his chest in robot mode, so he can sit on those, taxi around quite happily. We can open his blades. They're actually propeller shaped. And if you press on the top of his engines, the blades spin. Yeah, he's a weird looking plane. He's a great figure though. He's really, really well engineered, and he's really nice to touch and play with. He's very solid. He's a really nice toy to play with as a robot, and a really nice plane to play with. You don't get the impression with some like the others, the kibble all falls around the robot mode, and you think, no, this is just for display. But this guy definitely can play with him a lot. He's nice to actually get a feel of, and you can put him in some nice poses. So, that's Highbrow. Hope you enjoyed the review. Catch you next time.